The Big Issue. Breaking down the issues that matter.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Leadership Podcast. And of course, it's a big issue again. And as usual, we are here, in-house analyst Silas Ezeugu.
Welcome.
And Chibuzo Kaibe.
Thank you.
I'm going to be taking you on the big issue of the day, which is the emergence of third force and the 2023 elections. It has to do with prominent Nigerians, including a former chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Attahiru Jega, and a political economist, Professor Pat Utomi, as well as others who were reported to have concluded plans to form a mega political movement on October 1. Of course, Professor Utomi, although had come out based on reports making waves in the online media that there were no plans to announce a new political party on October 1. But of course, the planned announcement of a new party followed INEC's revelation that 95 groups had applied to it to be registered as political parties. Of course, talks on the new party was said to be going on between leaders of the People Redemption Party, including Professor Jega, those of the African Democratic Congress, including its national chairman, Chief Raf Mosu, and the Labour Party. But the former Minister of Education and retired politician, Adeniran, who attended the event, explained that the gathering discussed good governance and what was required to move the nation forward, and not necessarily to form a new political party. Also, the National Consultative Front, being promoted by the former Speaker of the House of Representatives, Umar Gali Naba, described the formation of the ROMP as a welcome development. Well, this is not surprising because about 2 months ago, the former INEC chairman, Jega, had come out to urge Nigerians to vote out the APC and the PDP, accusing them of being equally corrupt. He said the two political parties are the same and should not be given another opportunity in the 2023 general election. So, what do you think? The third force coming up.
Well,
what can they offer to Nigerians that we have never seen before?
well, it depends on who is the angle you're looking at it from, what they have to offer Nigerians. Well, I think first we need to put in context what is actually playing out. Whether the prospect of the third force is really as strong as it is being projected, especially when you have people who participated in the last gathering coming forward now to say no, there's no intent of having a party per se, but just a group of like minds who want to perhaps set a template on how the next kind of leadership should look like. So at that level, it gives a coloration that might not necessarily be one of the thought. And it creates a halo of uncertainty around the third force movement at that level. But whether Nigerians, what Nigerians should expect of a third force, I think over and again it has been said that the quality of political party, arrangement that we have now, not just at structural level, but at dogmatic level, ideological level, is almost nothing to write home about. They have over time shown that they have not so much substance to offer other than just vehicles to win elections for personal interest. And so it's naturally expected that every or most Nigerians would want perhaps a new opening, a new
Platform.
system, yes, platform that would help meet their yearnings. But whether between now and 2023, whether that kind of platform can emerge, not just emerge, but win, the elections, of course, is a different matter altogether.
Well, of course, we've seen those who have actually come to deny that there's no plan to form a new party.
Yeah.
But the National Consultative Front has somebody like Jega who had to urge Nigerians to avoid the APC and the PDP like a plague, saying they have nothing to offer again. And this is a man who conducted the election between the two major political parties, where the two major political parties had the major candidates. And now he is a part of this particular mega movement. And then you think that those who have actually come to deny that there is no plan to form a new political party are telling the truth.
Well, you have to take them for their words. If they are saying, and mind you, I had the privilege of speaking. I spoke with Usman Bugaji, one of the arrowheads in the Rescue Nigeria movement. I asked him pointedly, "Are you people intent on forming a new party?" He said, "No, that's not quite so. That what they intend to do now is set of criteria on how the new or the next kind of leadership should be managed." So if he at that level, one of the organizers of the movement, is coming up with that kind of position, then it's very clear. Today as well, Senator Lee Miba, um, who was also part of the Rescue Nigeria movement, also distanced himself from any plots or any plans to have a new political party, like a third force. You also saw, like you did point out, Professor Pat Utomi, who has always been, in the fore of this new movement, saying no, 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 no. They don't think that is, what they intend to do. So I think at that level, you take them for what they have said. But again, one will also appreciate perhaps what they intend to do. Um, Looking at the quality of engagement between the PDP and the APC, at the level of intellectual discourse, many people have had cause to worry because it appears to be just very hollow. It's a case of same of the same. All we hear between both parties are, who stole what, who didn't steal what. I was there before you. I did this. You didn't do what I did. This person should resign. The other person shouldn't resign. You've looted this much. I didn't loot that much. You have looted me. You've looted me. You've looted me.
You looted.
Very
You looted me.
Yes, very shallow
Pedestrian
engagement. So perhaps the essence, if I would hazard a guess, of this new movement is perhaps to infuse a lot of intellectual discourse and raise the bar in political engagement and discourse and set perhaps a clear narrative on how Nigerians should begin to think ahead of the 2023 elections. I want to assume that that is what their intent, is. Because if it is beyond that, then it might be a very Herculean task to see how they transform into a political party and begin to contest for elections, one within the space of time they have to deal with. That might not be much of a problem, but do they have the kind of war chest to run a national party? Because I don't want to think they will want to function just at the state level or at the grassroots level. My thinking would be that they want to start from the head, which is the presidency. They have the kind of funds and the kind of logistic capacity between this period of time to do all of that before the elections. It will be interesting to see if they do have that and how that plays out.
Well, if it is a matter of time, I think the the merger that formed the APC happened in 2013.
Agreed.
Of course,
But the defining thing was why I said that is because in the APC at the time you had sitting governors. And there are a lot of things that come easy when you have the governor within your fold. one, they already have, well,
Some structure.
they have structure, yes,
Okay,
and
war
then they
chest.
have a war chest. And which is very sad, absolutely very sad that they could pillage into public funds to fund some of these things. For instance, you have the PDP now trying to run the convention, and at the head of the convention are governors. And of course, you and I can hazard the reason, guess why they choose them. And we have also seen the same thing in the APC. The head of the APC party at the moment is a sitting governor. So it shows you how crucial governors are to party evolution or party formation. So if this new movement does not have a governor, it will be very interesting to see how they will, mobilize and fund the arrangement.
Yes, I agree with you because when you can remember
Which shouldn't be the ideal case.
of course, it's not the ideal case, but I can agree with you because in 2013 we had parties like the ACN, the CMPP,
Yes,
the
you're right.
CPC, I mean
You're
to
right.
say,
You're right.
the CPC and the ABGA,
Yes.
who all
All
those
of that-
parties
all of that
had
parties.
governors,
They also had
sitting governors.
new NPDP people join them.
joining them at that point. Silence, you now understand this kind of situation. From the formation here, the Jega group, made up of Professor Utomi and some other people, Galina, Ba, and the rest. Just like what Chibuz was saying, this is a kind of a movement that has no core politician or maybe governors in their midst. How do they intend to project themselves, sell out whatever they think they are doing? And then where do they think they can be able to garner the financial muscle to project what they are doing the way APC did in 2013 to form a party that now trounced the People's Democratic Party in the 2015 election?
Okay. I will start by even going back to say that the measure of that produced APC did not just happen in 2013. There was already a discussion about it in 2011, but there were two. First of all, they couldn't come to a common ground, and then it was too late to arrive at some, to some, unity of purpose. So they left that and went to election, and they all lost. Okay, very few is a PCPC flag, and the ACN also came to and Jonathan beat them. So that was already the seed planted ahead of 2013 when Bari and Tinubu now stretched hand across Niger and they came together. So that's that. Now, interestingly, Chido has given a very good backgrounding about this report, and I agree with him a lot because I do not see them as. It's true that Jega is already a member of the political party, which is one of the minor political parties, okay? And he came out clearly, but that was when he flew that kite, that APC and PDP are not it all. These people, that are all best of a feather.
Yes.
So they cannot take us, yes, they cannot take us to the promised land. And being somebody who has midwifed elections in Nigeria that pitted the PDP against the APC, he has seen the best and the worst of two sides. He knows them very well. He has interacted with them as been a referee, like a football referee.
Yeah.
The two sides, the two players,
An umpire.
the two teams. You're an umpire. You have interacted with them. So to an extent, you can see that he has a kind of a best eye view of the two, political parties and their dramatic personnel. Okay, that's why I say okay. What I've seen, in his own opinion, they're not it. So like telling Nigeria to prepare your mind that we need something else apart from these two. Certainly a lot of Nigerians see that way. Only that these ones already pascalized, they're very well established, and then it's like Dele Mobutu recently, advised those who are aspiring because he went around for presidency on a very small party and he didn't get anywhere. He forced it out. He said, okay, join the main parties because you have a better chance of becoming something if you come, presented by the main parties. Even if you go to US, they say they have two party system, but you have the Green Party, you have other groups, and you also can run as an independent.
True.
I'm sure that you still remember, is it Ross Perot? That is it Texas?
Yeah.
Yes, that's smart talking Texas oil tycoon or something. Put on as independent and make some impact. Okay. So we don't have that in our system now. So the only way you can have somebody coming from outside of the two main parties is going to have a third party. And what you can only have is possibly if other like minds, other similar parties, some other people like this come together to form a party. But that's something that is very important. Nigeria money plays a big role. In fact, the bigger role in how far you get in an election. And if you look at all those guys there, uh, I don't know their pockets, okay, but from 19 cents, I know that they may be comfortable in their own way, but the kind of money you spend in politics is not the kind of money just somebody who is comfortable, who is well to do. You have to have, a stash of cash somewhere that you can lose and not bother have a headache in the night. That's what they use for politics. Not so. From them, you don't see, and like I said already, the governors control the state money and they can spend it. They shouldn't spend it the way they like. But since 1999, we have seen a trend where the governors, have access. They can spend the money in here. The state legislators are rubber stamp. They cannot really stop the governor from doing whatever the government wants to do. So in Ghana gives and the governors control the local government funds as well.
Yeah.
So these are things they mop up and have a lot of money to spend. If you had a lot of institutional framework to control them and deal with that, they won't have that. So for now, this group of people can only achieve much. For instance, if they can get some backup from some powerful interests, powerful individuals that are very, very rich to spearhead, to kind of fund their campaign. You know, if not, they can only act at the level of the political pressure group in the two parties and try to shape the discussion and the process of emergence of those who will contest.
Well, before we continue, we will take a short break. But we want to encourage you, our viewer, to send in your contribution, send in your comments, because they help a lot in contributing immensely in the discussions. And of course, they also set the agenda. Don't go offline and don't turn your dial. We'll be back in a moment.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it now is my very special pleasure and privilege to ask His Royal Majesty, the Sultan of Sokoto, the chairman or chairperson of the leadership group, to come forward and join me and hold on to one bit of this cloth so that we can jointly unveil the bigger, better, deeper Levoque.
Well, welcome back. It's still on the big issue. Of course, we are talking about the emergence of a third force and the 2023 general election. As we're talking, from all you just said here, points to the fact that the kind of Nigerian politics is such that if you don't have a financial backup, then no matter how you come together, no matter how intelligent, no matter how armed you are intellectually,
good
intentions, you can never be able to scale through. It's not supposed to be so. Everything about Nigeria and its politics is money politics.
Well, money politics. Well, politics is money, and money is politics. I think we should, I will try to be as realistic as it were, because everywhere in the world, politics costs money, or politics involves money. However, I think the challenge is one, not making it override the interests of
Good politics.
the ideals that ought to drive, what you intend to achieve. And that's on the one hand, and on the other hand, not making it such that it becomes an exclusive club of few people. And because the danger of that is that it shuts out alternate ideas and blocks people, yes, who have a different voice other than what is out there. But to say that money isn't very critical in politics might not be, saying it as it is. That said, we saw how, for instance, in the United States, a big part of how a candidate emerges is your capacity to generate funds for your campaign, your fundraising ability. But the difference, however, is that they are properly regulated and monitored. And that is why I think we have a problem down here. You don't look over there, to a large extent, you don't just raise money anyhow. You don't just raise money anyhow because they tend to check for how you generate your funds so that it doesn't open up the space to not just internal infiltration, but even foreign interest infiltrating and controlling, the way your government emerges. But down here, I think we have not really gotten that aspect very well. We still have, a shabby way of fund generation for politics and elections. Now, with regards to whether this group can make a difference in how they generate funds for whatever project they have to do, I think it is possible. I think it is possible. The Obama experience was very clear. Obama generated money from an unconventional means. And it was because the people believed in what he represented and what he stood for. So I think that is the challenge the rescue group and the third force group has to deal with. They really need to convince Nigerians that yes, what we intend to do, that is if they want to form a third force, really, of the party, they need to convince Nigerians that what we intend to do is not for selfish reasons. One, two, we are not like the people who have abused abused your trust in the past. They really need to convince Nigerians at that level, because that is the only way you can have a Nigerian of today put out his money and say, okay, I want to invest in this project. Of course, it's an investment. That is the only way you can convince them to invest in this idea, invest in this project, with the understanding that what I'm putting now, I hope to yield, from it in future. The only way I can yield from that is to see good, responsive governance. But if they cannot convince Nigerians, and it's going to be a tough one this time around, because Nigerians have got to see how the APC came about. Unfortunately, I'm using that example because that is the most recent major arrangement that produced, that changed the power structure. Nigerians had so much belief that what the APC was going to come up with, the kind of narrative they gave, very intriguing narrative. In a long time, Nigerians have not got to hear that kind of narrative. And so they invested so much in it. It came into power. And, I'm not sure that they got a good bargain for what they invested in. So whoever is coming up with a fresh concept on how they want to get Nigerians to buy into what they have has to come up with something really, creative and really show that they mean what they are saying. Because it is going to be really tough, trying to convince.
Well, I think I agree with you because even most Nigerians have divergent views on this thought force thing. Recently, the civil society organizations in the country warned Nigerians not to trust politicians pushing the agenda of a thought force. The CSO said urged Nigerians to come together and ensure the country gets its electoral reform right. and that they must scrutinize every candidate standing for election before making informed decision. And of course, the thinking is that in 2013, the ACM, AMPP, CMPP, and other parties joined forces to form the APC, which came with a change mantra, and nothing happened. And what we are seeing under the APC government,
Nothing happened.
most Nigeria, of course, because at the end of the day, I am telling you the minds of Nigeria. Most Nigerians believe that nothing happened because after taking power from the People's Democratic Party in 2015, and then one would have expected that the needed change would have come. But most Nigerians are crying foul that the change they voted for is not what they are seeing now. So that is why most of them, like the CEOs, are saying, what is the guarantee that a third force will bring something tangible and different from what the APC offered? And at the end of the day, Nigerians say they are disappointed. That's the point, Zach.
Yes. One's beaten.
Twice shy.
That's what they said.
Of course.
Another question is, okay, if not a new thing, what do you do? Do you stay back with this APC that, from what you said, most Nigerians feel that
Done nothing.
they bought a third church, or do you go back to Egypt? Go back to PDP, of the PDP share the money, and which they ran away from to APC, or they come to trying something new until they get it right. So these are options in front of them. Take what you have now. If you can manage it, go back to Egypt, or try something new in the hope that you can hit pure gold. So, Chibuzo was right in saying that they needed to give Nigerians something they can trust, because the trust Nigerians had, of another party emerging from PDP, away from PDP, that trust is broken substantially. And unless this government is able to do something magical,
Within
miraculous in
the 2 years they have.
yes, because the major issue that is talking this government is insecurity, banditry, and co. Of course, the economy has also gone to places. Those things, okay. Other areas are there, but these are two things that make Nigerians go to bed with one eye open. So, I think that Nigeria should not do so completely. Losing hope does not help any matter. You already become miserable. You to help some people to help self-help, and it's okay. Let's abandon the system to them, like some people have done. They continue, but the kind of opportunities you have in Nigeria don't really give a damn. I spoke to one governor who went to a meeting and said, when he went to the meeting, was surprised that nobody was talking about the common people. The former governor in one of certain states said they came to a meeting that was discussing Nigerian issues and and nobody was talking about the common man there. And was like, what is this? So whenever I even talked about this, forget about this one. We are here now. This is our turn. So that is the scenario there. So they should not do so. Let them listen to every opinion and see and try to ask God to give them discernment. Also use their own discernment to see those who are likely to be talking in the interest of the public. Well, you cannot judge. I said that there's no mind to find the man's position in the faith. So if you look at somebody, I don't know what has the mind, for instance. But there's something that this group said. They say they want to push for electronic voting, which resonates with what Nigerians want.
Yes.
But Nigerians want to have the capacity to vote and their vote count, and they feel that the only way they can get that one done is if their voting is electronic and transmission of results is electronic, so that the human element in Nigeria, the human factor in Nigeria, the Nigerian factor, will not torpedo their voting along the way. But from that voting to collation and announcement, that's why the voting happens. But with electronic voting, we cut out this opportunity for marauders in the electoral system to steal the vote. So that is one thing that Nigerians agree with. Those who need to come up with other things that Nigerians also agree with. If Nigerians begin to see that these people, the narrative they are giving narratives are in tune with what the generality of Nigerians buy into, that could work. But we also have to remember that there's a right pool of Nigerians who don't listen to the news, who don't understand English or all these technologies, who only listen to what the man tells them or the priest tells them, pastor tells them. You understand? So those who need to couch a message that can get to this kind of people. I was in an argument somewhere and somebody told me that if Buhari were to run for third term, even with the way Nigeria has gone to places under him, that some people will vote him until they die. Because to them, he's a man, and as long as it represents a particular idea that they have, that it's okay, the whole world can go to places as long as they care. So there are kind of people that have the mindset that need to change, that, you know, maybe let's look for a Nigeria that works for everybody, not just for a small group of people. So that's kind of narrative need to come up, you know, and two, the other thing that's been dealing with Nigerians a lot is the issue of corruption and failure of governance, lack of accountability and co. Can they, among them, actually, if the people that come out are people that just trust that these guys in their previous life, that private and public life, that have been people of you know, untested, you know, credibility, that could also work for the people who are interested in governance in Nigeria. So those are not the agreed to come. They may not achieve what they want in 2023.
Yeah.
But this is a point to start. So that going forward, you know, there's a point we come to Nigeria and I feel like, look, the way we are going, it didn't us to nowhere. Let us beat a retreat. Otherwise, we are going to what? Be doomed. When that time comes, they're going to need a platform that is different from the two fingers of the what? PDP and what? APC. Which, according to Jega and some other people, generally of Nigeria, are already deceased.
Well, that is the much we can take for today's edition of the big issue. And of course, you've heard it all, the third force. And the idea perhaps is to come and upstage the APC and the PDP. But as the whole scenario unfolds, we'll be watching, and then, of course, we will actually know the next step will follow in the build-up to the 2023 general election. Thank you, Chibuzo, for,
Thank you, sir.
and of course, Silas,
Yeah, but,
in a wonderful time. And of course, we would like to thank you, Avia, out there for keeping tab with us. Join us same time tomorrow for another edition of the big issue. Have a wonderful day.